Well, I was born in Westbury, the old Westbury that time. Back in the olden days, when there were still no tar roads in Westbury. It was only sand roads, yeah. I was staying with my grandmother. My mother's mom. My mother's name was staying in Eldorado Park at the time. Already, I have 3 other siblings. My sister, my brother, who passed away in 2010, and then I have a younger brother than me. Westbury that time was a like any other community. It is a community where you'll find there was gangsters, there was soccer players, there was a soccer team in Westbury back in the day that I used to look up to. Guys over the community, they used to play lovely soccer, man. I know there's a guy that we called him Tso. There was a guy called, what's his name? Thais Mahada. There was the Esmond Johnsons. You know, the elder guys growing up, seeing them playing soccer. You know, my cousin also, they used to call him Dagalas, used to play soccer. My brother was also a soccer player, but he was more of a chubby, you know. He used to look like Jomo, you know. But growing up, I saw these guys playing soccer, and I was captured. I know I was playing for a team called Arsenals in Westbury. That time I was 8 years old. Yeah, 8 years old. I went to play in the BFA because I grew up really spoiled. I grew up because my aunt used to spoil me. My aunt loved me to bits, my mother's sister. So we were average. Yeah. No, we were not rich people, but we didn't short much. Yeah, month to month, I can't remember there was a month that I needed to go to school and I didn't have shoes. You understand? I always had my things on time for school. You get what I'm saying? You know, when I grew up, when I was still at school, in the community of Eldorado Park, there wasn't much gangsters, but there was cliques of guys that used to hang out and used to stand out. But there was the one clique, I remember them, the Supera boys. Being in school still that time, the Abo and them, the Sean Rafirs, the guys like that, the is still alive. Sean Rafir we passed on, but those were guys that used to steal cars. And those are the guys that used to run the community. And I grew up liking that. My father was like what my father came out of a life of gangsterism also. Yeah, my father was a gangster. He was a Spalding back in the day in Westbury. So when he met my mother, I think when he came out of prison, he changed his life because he was also a soccer player. He was a very good soccer player. So coming out, he changed his life. He met my mom, and then they somehow got married, you know. So he had to change his life for my mom's sake. I think, because when I look back at it now, he was a gangster, went to prison, came out, changed this. He changed even his soccer team because there was 2 teams. It was the All Jacks back in the day, and it was the Ionians. He used to play for the Ionians, and the Ionians was part of the Spaldings. And then when he came out of prison, and then he changed the team to the All Jacks, and then from the All Jacks, they formed another team called Chesterfield. And that team was actually one of the best teams in the colored communities. They went to Durban, used to play professional soccer almost. Yeah, but they were, back in the day, I don't know what happened, man. When people talk of soccer and back in the day, they talk about Chesterfield. And my father used to play for them, was a midfielder. So growing up, soccer was our thing. One of my uncles, Victor Matthews, used to play for Pirates back in the day. Also was playing for Chesterfield. They selected him from that team. But there was never a thing of, and even he never made it to say that onto the spectrum of, you know, being recognized, PSL. You know, PSL. Because like I said to you, you see that time the mindset of, you know, us coloreds, I don't know. It is very few of our coloreds that made it in soccer, that, you know, went overseas and stuff like that, because it was more a thing of gangsterism and, you know, because drugs was always part of our communities for as long as I can remember. So when I came to matric, I finished school in 95, onto the scene the next year, Summer started stealing cars. Because I was a well-known kid. I was a well-known kid at school, in the neighborhood, even because my father was a drug dealer. So I was known in the community to say that that is a boss lady. And my name was taken from his name. My father's name was Boasty. They call me Bo in the community now. You see, so I've inherited that from him. I grew up, I was 11 years old, I used to sell drugs through the window. Coming from school, there's nobody that, his runners are not there, I'm there at home. I sell through the window. I knew what it was. I knew it was illegal. I knew it was illegal because I was already of mind. If I could sell something to you, I know what I'm selling to you. But my mother always pushed me into a different direction. So what happened is my father stopped selling drugs. I'm in matric. There's no more income of drugs. So things at home is now becoming a bit tight. You understand? My mother's not working. She was always a housewife. My father was always the breadwinner. So I'm seeing things are getting tough at home. It's no longer, I can't get that kind of money anymore. I can't get that clothes anymore whenever I want it. So, times have changed. And I tell myself, okay, fine. The only thing my mother said to me, go to school. I said, okay, let me finish school, ma. Just to satisfy my mother. But after finishing school, already that year in matric, I told myself, because I was already friends with the guys that steal cars. I was already friends with them, but I was still not doing this crime. But after I finished school, I jumped straight into it. Where car theft started, it started out with the Golf 1. The guys were stealing CTIs, 1800 sports, and then it progressed to the Golf 2, 2020. So it's the 2020, the Golf and the CLI, and then it went from there to the Caravel bus. Yeah, stole the bus. And then obviously BMW was always also the car to be stolen, like the 325s, like your IS, like your 325 black bumper. It was the cars that was stolen that time. Yeah, your 535s, these kind of cars. And then it progressed, and then became GTI 3s, CLI 3 to the VR6. You see, it was VW and BMW that was mostly stolen back in the day. You see, and then it started with Mercedes-Benz. You see, the E200, E220, and then you get the SL. Yeah, the SL. Even the 850, you see that one with the flat nose. Yeah, the 850 also. They used to steal those cars also. I know my guys, my friends that I used to have there, they used to swire my brother. They used to use the Allen key. In the Black Townships, yes, we had friends in Fort Lawrence, Spruitview. We had friends here in Soweto, all over here in Soweto. Guys that used to collaborate, or maybe you want something. Because we grew up and it became now, when the cars came, when the car theft started, and now it's not only stealing the cars, it's now chopping cars now also. You make a car, when you steal a car, you re-register the car to, you chop AMA numbers, and print AMA tags, change the engine, and now it's your car. You understand? That's how most of the guys in Eldorado Park grew from being just as ordinary thief to become these big things. Yeah, yes. That's why you would find, you want a car, you go see the guys. So, I want a car, just get me something there. How much you go? How much you have there? They go to around this, they print a paper for you. They chop a car for you with numbers that's falling from the sky. We used to call it Mkando. Yeah, used to call it Mkando car. Chop all APVs. Yeah, that time APVs came with the stolen and recovered. Yeah, they give you one of that cars cheap. Yeah, 15,000 come, give. APVs is basically a car that was stolen. It was stolen and it was recovered. So now you find those cars in the 13 camp. So what they do is they write it off as a code 3 car. You see, stolen and recovered. So then they reprint papers for it. They take it off from code 2. They now make it a code 3 now. But you can buy those cars back. But now you see, most of the cops are corrupt that time. That used to work at VIS. Very corrupt. They used to give the Amagents, they used to give them cars, papers. That's why APVs was full up in Eldorado Park. All the last car you find, as they say, you see IS has got APVs. You see a Kumbi, Caravel 2.5 IS APVs. Yeah, because you go to rounds, that car was stolen. You maybe have a cop there by VIS. He gives you the paper of a car that was stolen that is standing there. You know when your car gets stolen, you bring your paper. They print a new paper for you to say that this car was stolen. And most of the people that the Lanis, when their cars are stolen, they don't want their cars back anymore. They somehow maybe claim from insurance, or then they leave the cars there. So what VIS used to do, they make a new file for the car. They make a file, and then they print the cars. And then they print new papers with APVs, and then they give them that special TJS numbers instead of scrapping the car. You see? So now you have the cars. And most of the cops also used to drive those cars. So then cars became easily accessible. Yeah, so you don't need to go to the dealership to go buy a car. You go to Majimbos. Majimbos owns want a car, man. Yeah, no, look. Being, like I always say, like being in a clique, like hanging out with people that does crime. Automatically you're gonna be labeled as a gang. You understand? So what happened was, we formed a group back in the 80s, in the 90s, called Majimbos. And it wasn't formed with the intention of being gangsters. It was on the soccer field. It happened because weekends we used to, after the whole week, we used to steal cars the whole week. On a Saturday and a Sunday, it's soccer. And we had a friend called Terminator, Temba. His name was Temba. African friend of ours, yeah. I was staying in Eldos, but he was from Soweto. And he used to come, he first said Machens, and then after that he goes, no, this is the Majimbos. And that's how our name started, on the soccer field. And it was just soccer guys being car thieves. And then you find those guys from Westbury came in. Oh, they used to come from Westbury to come and bully our people in our nightclubs here in Eldorado Park. That time it was Status, it was out of town, 62. So they used to come from that side because there by them there was no nightclubs. Yeah, they came, Eldorado Park, the fast guns, the FBIs. And then they were bullies, true bullies. No, they were. And then we just got tired of it, man. Because every time they come to our place, they put our place out, they shoot, and then they go. Look, when you're a car thief, you steal people's cars, the white people, they leave the guns in the car. So we had all of the guns. We had a lot of guns. As Majimbos, we had a lot of guns. We had a lot of guns because some of the guns we found from our friends in Soweto, some of the guns we find in the cars that we were stealing. So we had a lot of guns at our disposal, but we were not gangsters. So we never used our guns to go and terrorize other people in their communities. But when they came in, we had to get up, stand up for our community. As Majimbos, we said, no, this is our place. You're not going to come here. And then the fight started. The war started with fast guns and Majimbos in out of town many years ago.
What happened there?
That night, I remember specifically my cousin. And he was a fast gun. My cousin was a fast gun. So they came to out of town that night. The FBI's fast guns. They came to out of town. They were chilling. He went out. I remember I was busy shooting a game of pool. He went out. Ning came back. He was beaten up so badly. But when he went in, he came in, he says in Afrikaans, he says, really, kyk wat maak jou brother, see what your friends did to me. I said, ish. When he went past me, went to his friends, those people, they turned around that place. They were shooting in the club. It was havoc. Now the war was starting. So now unnecessary people got hurt. And that's when we said, no, man, this can't happen. Jumped into the cars, went home, came back with guns, and that's when the fight started with Majimbos and fast guns. And that fight progressed. It became a war zone. People from Westbury. So now you must know, when you are from Elders, you can't go to Westbury anymore. When you're from Westbury, you can't come into Elders. It was like that. But then they would come and then they would shoot, and then we would go, we would shoot. Lives was lost. Hey, it was a horrible time. It was a horrible time up until the time we decided, no, we can't go on like this. So that's the thing. So most of the people that is from Eldorado Park, that has family in Westbury at the time, you couldn't even go visit your family anymore. Because now when you go there, they'll tell you, hey, Jela Majimbos. Because everyone was now labeled as Majimbos. When you come from Elders, you go into Westbury, everyone was labeled a gangster. And that's how the mindset in the people of Westbury, they have that gangster mentality all the years. I know because I grew up there. I know the mindset of Westbury, it derives from gangsterism. These people is like, yeah, your father killed my father how many years ago? Yeah, this thing can't end here. It's going to grow. Like I can remember in the war, my cousin got shot. He's a fast gun, was a fast gun. But not one of my guys shot him. One of the Majimbos shot him. Or he was shot by accident by one of his friends. And as close, because we were close, man, it was my close family, I had to go and sympathize. And I remember I had to go with my mother and my father. And when I got there, it was just fast guns. Oh, it was like, I'm coming into the lion's den. And, I didn't go to his funeral. I just went to go and sympathize that night. And that night they were actually, because my father was well respected, they didn't do and say anything because they respected my father at the time. And I just went in and I just sympathized and chilling, and after that I left. But I couldn't go to the funeral. Because our colored funerals, when it's gangsters that's dying or criminals, it's shooting most. They run amok at the funerals. It's shooting in the air and what. Yeah. So I couldn't go to the funeral. No, we had peace talks. No, we had peace talks because it became so. But before the peace talks came, there was a drug that came onto the scene. It's called ecstasy. Yeah. You see that drug? It's called a love drug. That drug came and changed the whole dynamic. Because while people got to pop ecstasies, you become so loving, you become so... And I think that's what brought about the peace. Because people now not have that mindset of aggression anymore. It is now, because now weekends, you come, you have ecstasies, and now you are loving and you're no more that aggressive, yeah. And that's how they managed to get the peace talks. Because when I can remember, because when we used to go to clubs, it was the drugs that calmed everyone down. Even in town, there was this place called Dockside we used to go to. But everyone was on trip of ecstasy. And you come now and then you find the fast guns there. And there's no fighting because everyone is tripped up, they're high. But when they're not on high, when they drunk, they want to shoot each other. So I don't know what year was it, man. I think it was 1999. 99 was peace talks. There was another pastor called he's still Pastor Freddie Edwards. Yeah, alongside him was Pastor Henry. Pastor Henry was was also a gangster back in his days. Also used to be a gunman. Also used to be a Varma cop back in the day in Reveille in Westbury. So he changed his life, he got saved, and now he was serving God. But he knew most of us. He knew most of us because he always used to come into Eldos. He went into Westbury. He's from Reveille originally. But he used to always come and talk nice and, And I remember when things were so hectic, but now also at the same time, the drugs came into the scene. So people were becoming more passive, And then he used to engage with us, and then he used to go that side and he used to go talk that side. And then eventually he used the big pastor, Pastor Freddy, used to talk to the Abosekis and Chris, last guy of them, the Westbury, that side, the FBI's, and then they used to talk around having peace. And that's how we used to go to Cecil Payne Stadium here in Marijsburg, and we had a peace rally there one day. I just can't remember the date, but we had a peace rally. But it didn't end there. The gangsterism and stuff didn't end there.
It continued.
It continued amongst us now. So in our
Community now.
in our own community now, amongst each other now, in the Majimbos, there was a split that came about of the Majimbos. So it was the guys of P section and the guys from the N Extension 9, the A team and the P team now. It was a split now. I would say the split there because, you know what? Amongst us, there was this guy, I don't know if you know him. Yeah, that guy, he came and he brought the division amongst the guys because he had his own agenda. He wanted to be the boss of Eldorado Park. You understand? So, and then you had the likes of and that was his crew. And this side, you will find after the peace rally with the fast guns, the fight started with a friend of mine in Annandale that also passed away. His name was Power. And him and had an argument and had a fight at a festival there in Annandale. Coming back then, it was out of town that same night. And then he came to my house. I remember he came to my house. He said, borrow me your gun. I gave him my gun. But I didn't ask him a whole lot of things. I just gave him because he was my friend. We used to spin together. We used to steal cars together. So I said to him, but please don't lose it, bro. Anyway, we went out of town that night, That night, those people, they came back from, we were already out of town. They came back from the festival, them and the guys that was already passed away. Yeah, we lost a lot of guys in that fight amongst each other. So he came, I started fighting. Hey, taking out the gun, hitting them with the gun. What? Shot went off. Hey, shot another lady that was pregnant. Hey, he shot almost his finger off here. Hey, the fight is being. And now me, that time I used to tell myself, I don't involve myself when there's already a gun out. Try and stop the fight. No. You can do each other with each other there, because I'm not going to involve myself, And then they stopped the fight. But the guy his name is stopped the fight. He takes the gun out of that friend of mine's hand and immediately placed it into the other guy's hand. And that guy slapped. Shy him, yeah. So he fell there. He was in ICU for about 2 months. And that's where the fight started amongst each other. So now that was there, that hangs out with Power, we try now to intervene and to set it number, because now we see the gun is now in their possession. We want to get the gun because it's my gun. And I'm like, man, go there to the people and go. I send this other friend of mine and go take the gun, but they didn't want to. So from there, it is now beef amongst each other. You know what? After that, I think it was 3 weeks after that day of constant fighting amongst each other. We lost a few friends. Yeah, I remember the shot kaffa in the neck there in Klipspruit by a bash. We were there. They came to shoot us, but we saw them in time. And then this other friend of ours came there with his friend, and then they shot on the bus and then they killed him. And that's how the fight started. So the other guys that passed away, Cheeks and Desiree, They came, they were actually on a camp in Roodeplaat, and then they heard about that, and then someone came back, and then the fight was on. So it was A section and B section. B section, A section. And it was just rough. It was just shooting each other in the community. You know, having shootouts broad daylight. Like in that way, even the cops don't want to interfere. That's how the fight was. What in amongst us Majimbos. So at his team, as time goes on, no, they shot Obut, they shot a lot of people. We lost a lot of friends, bro. We lost really a lot of friends, and you know what? In all of those things, and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, yeah, when I look back and I'm thinking how God has graced me. You know what? God has kept me throughout all this craziness, the madness. Even with the time with the fast guns, when they came to shoot, it always happened that I always just left or I just came after. That's how God has graced me. Because I didn't know then what I know now, but I knew now what I know now is that He had a different plan for me, man. I've never been shot. I've never been stabbed. No. We've lost so many lives, bro. And I can tell you, it was a time where, in Eldorado Park, after 6, you shouldn't be in the street. Yeah, don't be in the street after 6 because now the fight is on. Even during the day.
If you're in the game.
Yeah. Between us now, amongst us, of the Majimbos, that are split into the 2 teams. Yeah. It's broad daylight shooting. It's shooting anytime it's tea time. Back in the day, we used to know, we went to the street and fight with each other in the street because that's where it started. In the street, we didn't go to your house and go and shoot at the house and what. Although those people, I remember one day, they came and they shot on the house there where we were chilling. And then they came and they were shooting on the house. But we never went to their houses and go shoot on their houses. We always in the street. That's where we find each other. That's where the fight started. Let's end it in the street. Let's not go to people's houses. That time Pagat was, they were gunning for us. Because at that time, because now Eldorado Park became a war zone. You see? So at that time, Pagat was formed by this guy, Ayub and Hyatt. Yeah, those were the 2 leaders of Pagat at the time. And they wanted to infiltrate and break down and get us arrested. All of us. But also fighting with us because they carried guns, those Indians. Not Indians, Muslim guys. Yeah. And they were gunning for us very bad. But they also knew to say that those are not boys to be taken lightly. So you're not just going to go. Even the cops knew it. Cops didn't just come. There was this one cop, I remember his name was Behrens, Inspector Behrens. He was the only cop that had the heart to come to our camp, there where we were chilling, there where we were hanged out, and came and said, guys, this must now stop. We used to call him the top cop. Yeah. He was the only one. The rest of them were scared because most of the cops were in our pockets because we were car thieves, man. That time when Trekker started, the cars that was taken out there in Extension 9 where we used to chill, the cars we used to pay the cops, man. All the cops, they were in our pockets to say that these ones, you get done, you arrest this one, now he's going to be left. Even when you don't take the chocho here on the crime scene, the one that is going to arrest him there or the investigating officer, he's going to take the chocho. You will lose out because these guys, they have the money. So in Eldorado Park was once, it was once a very nice place to be, but then it became a war zone. And then I know, because I was a car thief, now I started going to prison in and out. So it became my life. Getting arrested, sometimes I smuggle the case. Sometimes I have to go to a waiting trial, because I have now another pending case of the same kind. Because I was a car thief. So when you have 2 of the same cases, there's no bail until you finish the one.